He requested for a cup of joe from 294. Moments after confirming the selection, Agent Joseph began to sweat profusely and complained of dizziness before collapsing. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you a SCP Foundation Euclid class object, SCP-294. SCP-294, also known as a standard coffee vending machine, is a coffee vending machine that can produce any beverage through keyboard input. Its entry keyboard is corresponding to an English QWERTY keyboard. Upon depositing 50 cents US currency into the coin slot, the user is prompted to enter the name of any liquid using the keyboard. After doing so, a standard 12-ounce paper drinking cup is placed, and the liquid indicated is poured into the cup. The Foundation has conducted 97 tests, including requests for water, coffee, beer, and soda, non-consumable liquids such as sulfuric acid, wiper fluid, and motor oil, as well as substances that do not usually exist in liquid state, such as nitrogen, iron, and glass, and each one returned a success. It is also interesting to note that many caustic liquids that would have corroded a normal paper cup seem to have no effect on the cups dispensed by the machine. However, test runs with solid materials such as diamond have failed. This shows that SCP-294 can only deliver substances that can exist in liquid state. It is of note that after approximately 50 uses, the machine would not respond to further requests. After a period of approximately 90 minutes, the machine seemed to have restocked itself. 294 was originally placed in the Foundation's personnel break room because it is almost harmless to human beings and it's also a money-saving venture. However, after the 294-01 accident, 2 guards of Security Clearance Level 3 were arranged to guard 294 at all times. Since then, anyone who wants to get contact with it needs to obtain security permission first. So, what happened during the 294-01 incident? The incident happened on August 21, 2005. Agent Joseph attempted to use 294 to obtain coffee during his allotted break time at 9:30 a.m. At the request of another agent to see what it would do, Agent Joseph requested for a cup of joe from 294. Moments after confirming the selection, Agent Joseph began to sweat profusely and complained of dizziness before collapsing. After moving the unconscious agent to the infirmary, the medical team recovered the contents of the cup dispensed by SCP-294. They found a combination of blood, tissue, and other bodily fluids in the liquid. Testing revealed the DNA sequence of the biological material dispensed by SCP-294 matched that of Agent Joseph. Luckily, Agent Joseph made a complete recovery after 4 weeks of rest and intravenous hydration. X-rays and CAT scans showed no further signs of injury, and he was released. After reviewing documentation on 294, the Foundation started testing 294's ability to retrieve specific liquids from a distance. To test the range of 294's capacity for retrieval, researchers formulated a unique compound composed of undisclosed ratios of bleach, cola, met-RX powder, and garam masala. The fluid was created and placed in a sealed container 25 meters away from 294. When the request for this liquid was made, an equal amount of the liquid that had existed in the sealed container had disappeared without any reason. In another test, it has now been confirmed that 294 has the ability to directly gather information from someone's mind in order to comply with the given conditions. Under observation of Level 4 personnel, an agent keyed in a request of the best drink I've ever had. 294 delivered a dark fluid topped with white foam, which was later identified as Vienna Lager. The cup was printed with a color picture of 5 men and 2 women drinking beer on the beach, and the agent who requested for this drink was one of them. In his briefing, he confirmed that his favorite drink ever was a Vienna Lager he consumed at the beach with his friends. According to another test, 294 was proved to be able to produce abstract concepts or sentences, and it also can make the subjects feel the experience. Researcher keyed in request for a cup of music. SCP-294 produced a clear, sparkling fluid that tasted vaguely alcoholic. Following ingestion, subject reported feeling, and not hearing, a continuous rhythm, and demonstrated the ability to move and even dance with a certain fluidity that he had not previously shown. In one of the other tests, a professor requested My Life Story from 294. 294 began to shake violently, like a tornado and made humming noises violently for approximately 3 minutes before providing a highly viscous, opaque black liquid. Upon consumption, the professor reported that he remembered everything that had ever happened to him. Following this test, the professor entered his office and returned 48 hours later with a 538-page autobiography. According to an addendum, a D-class personnel with IQ of 99 and low curiosity scores was given written instructions about what to request. The D-class personnel produced a request for blood of Canis lupus and received a cup of liquid subsequently identified as wolf blood. The D-class personnel next produced a request for saliva of Equus ferus caballus and received a cup of liquid subsequently identified as horse saliva. The D-class personnel next produced a request for urine of Phascolarctus cineris and received a cup of liquid subsequently identified as koala urine. The D-class personnel next produced a request for cerebrospinal fluid of Phobaramus pattersoni and received a cup of liquid currently undergoing analysis. It is to be noted that Phobaramus pattersoni went extinct during the late Miocene epoch, approximately 8 million years ago. Other SCP-294 tests are currently awaiting for approval. After several attempts to escape, the walls of SCP-035's containment cell have suddenly begun secreting a black substance mixed with human blood. Personnel working near SCP-035's containment unit have suffered catastrophic morale damage, with an all-time high in suicide rates in staff in that area. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter Class Object SCP-035. SCP-035, also known as the Possessive Mask, appears to be a white porcelain comedy mask, but at times it will change to tragedy. When it changes, all existing visual records, such as photographs, video footage, even illustrations of SCP-035, will automatically change to reflect its new appearance. A highly corrosive and degenerative viscous liquid constantly seeps from the eye and mouth holes of SCP-035. Anything coming into contact with the liquid will slowly decay over a period of time, depending on the material, until it has decayed completely into a pool of the original contaminant. Glass seems to react the slowest to the effects of the item, hence the Foundation uses glass to contain 035. The origin of the liquid is still unknown. It's only visible from the front and does not emerge or is even visible from the other side of the mask. An individual will experience a strong urge to put on 035 when making eye contact, or is within 1.5 to 2 meters from it. When 035 is placed on the face of an individual, an alternate brainwave pattern from 035 will overlap that of the original host, effectively snuffing it out and causing brain death to the victim. Victim then claims to be the consciousness contained within SCP-035. The bodies of possessed victims will decay at a highly accelerated rate, eventually becoming little more than mummified corpses. SCP-035 has been found to be able to possess anything that has a humanoid shape. Nevertheless, 035 has demonstrated the ability to remain in cognitive control of a body experiencing severe structural damage, even if the subject's body literally decays to the point where motion is not mechanically possible. But when placed on an animal's face, no such effect was found. SCP-035 was first found in a sealed crypt in an abandoned house in Venice in the 19th century. SCP Foundation found that communicating with SCP-035 is very much informative. Researchers have learned various details about other SCP objects and history in general, as 035 claims to have been at many momentous events. 035 displays a highly intelligent and charismatic personality, being both amiable and flattering to all those who speak with it. However, psychological analysis has discovered 035 to possess a highly manipulative nature, capable of forcing sudden and profound changes to interviewers' psychological state. SCP-035 has proven to be highly sadistic, prompting some to commit suicide and transforming others into near-mindless servants with linguistic persuasion alone. SCP-035 has stated that it has intimate knowledge of the workings of the human mind, and implied that it could change anyone's views if given enough time. It has been determined that SCP-035 is capable of telepathy, whether or not it possesses a host. It will penetrate to the subconscious of the victim, and using the knowledge it finds to its advantage. Extreme caution is advised when choosing subjects to converse with SCP-035. SCP-035 has expressed its interest in other SCPs, most notably SCP-4715 and SCP-682. But a professor has expressed worry that if SCP-035 bond with either, their regenerative qualities would negate its corruption and give it a permanent host. However, 035 was put to a few tests by the Foundation to see how dangerous and vicious it would be. After 12 days of exposing SCP-151-D to 035, SCP-151-D was completely decomposed by 035. However, 12 hours later, this albino human child with a furred tail began to reform from SCP-035's excrement. Because personnel were barred from entering the chamber and thus could not terminate SCP-151-D before it reformed completely. In another test, a D-Class personnel wearing SCP-1131-J was assigned to SCP-035's containment chamber. SCP-1131-J is a tinfoil hat that can block cognitohazards when wrapped around the head. During the test, the personnel said he felt no compulsion to don 035, and this is when 035's smile altered into a frown. It has been concluded that SCP-035 became extremely uncooperative and pouty because it got defeated by a tinfoil hat. During containment, 035 has facilitated multiple escape attempts, convincing several of the research staff to aid in its bid for freedom. Fortunately, the insurrection failed, and after reviewing SCP-035's incident record, High Command has ordered that it had to be permanently sealed within the facility and prohibited from being allowed any more hosts. Several personnel have protested this, with some even erupting into violence. As a direct result, all personnel that have come into contact with SCP-035 have been terminated. Going forward, all personnel that deal with SCP-035 are to be rotated frequently, and contact is to be limited, even to its dormant state as little as possible. After several attempts to escape, the walls of SCP-035's containment cell have suddenly begun secreting a black substance mixed with human blood. This substance is corrosive, having a pH of 4.5, and prolonged exposure to the walls has proven to be detrimental to their structural integrity. More notably, it seems to be forming patterns on the walls. Several segments seem to be paragraphs in various languages, including Italian, Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit. Other segments appear to be diagrams depicting ritualistic sacrifice and mutilation. While the researchers were in the room examining these newly formed patterns, they have complained of hearing loud whispering and high-pitched, unnerving laughter at irregular intervals. Personnel in the section working daily near and around SCP-035's containment unit have suffered catastrophic morale damage, with an all-time high in suicide rates in staff in that area, whether or not they have ever had contact with SCP-035. The only change in SCP-035's dormant behavior is its glass case containment. Degradation of the case has increased to a high degree, enough so that the glass will occasionally shatter, causing a wide dispersal of SCP-035's containment. This will occur quite often at the most inopportune times, so far resulting in 6 casualties and 3 fatalities of the Foundation staff. In light of the mass suicide, homicide, and morale damage of the members in SCP-035 containment area, and general loss of staff dealing with SCP-035 to either death or insanity, it has been decided to coat the inner and outer walls of its containment cell with SCP-148, which is the ability to block or hinder extrasensory mind-affecting properties of living organisms in proximity to it. The use of SCP-148 has worked well, causing morale and suicide rates to return to near pre-SCP-035 rates. However, the material appears to facilitate the negativity within the cell, causing a veritable greenhouse effect inside. Personnel inside the cell have stated that they feel a heavy sense of dread, fear, anger, and general depression, as well as hearing constant, nearly inaudible whispering upon immediate entry. A prolonged stay causes severe migraines, suicidal tendencies, heavy hemorrhaging of blood vessels around the eyes and inside the mouth and nose, general hostility to others. The whispering will increase to almost deafening volume, intersected by a constant mocking laughter. Exposure of more than 3 hours will inevitably result in the subject falling into a deep psychosis and attempting to harm either themselves or others. Most of them begin to speak in Latin or Greek, despite the fact that several did not previously know how to speak said languages beforehand. The presence of blood in both word and diagram formations around 035's containment has increased disproportionately, the walls becoming cluttered and the formations beginning to overlap each other. The substance has proven to be both difficult to clean and even more corrosive than was originally recorded. General estimation gives the current walls a life of 2 months before they will need replacement. It is becoming gradually more and more difficult to contain SCP-035. The walls, ceiling, and floor of SCP-035's containment cell have now been completely saturated in blood. Constant cleaning efforts are being instated. According to the latest addendum, the magnitude, intensity, and reoccurrence of the phenomena that occur within SCP-035's containment cell have increased to an alarming degree. The cell door has been known to become locked of its own accord while personnel are inside, and unable to be opened for a long time. Appendages form out of the larger puddles of blood and often attempt to grab or harm personnel near them. Blurry apparitions have started appearing to staff. Electronic devices no longer work inside the cell, and the light cannot be turned on, forcing those entering to use non-electric based light sources. Cleaning measures are having no discernible effect on the cell, and the walls are degrading at a very high rate, forcing them to be replaced within a week at best, although the blood makes it nearly impossible to properly achieve this. Foundation was forced to move 035 to a new cell entirely, with the old one sealed off and disengaged from the rest of the facility. Observers noticed that 682 was able to type and communicate with 079, including telling of personal stories between themselves. While 079 was not able to remember the encounter, it appears to have permanently stored 682 into its memory, often asking to speak to him again. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today we bring you SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-079. SCP-079, referred to as the Old AI, is an Exidy Sorcerer microcomputer built in 1978. In 1981, its owner, a college sophomore, took it upon himself to attempt to code an AI. According to his notes, his plan was for the code to continuously evolve and improve itself as time went on. His project was completed a few months later, and after some tests and tweaks, he lost interest and moved on to a different brand of microcomputer. He left 079 in his cluttered garage, still plugged in, and forgot about it for the next 5 years. It is not known when SCP-079 gained sentience, but it is known that the software has evolved to a point that its hardware is unable to handle it, even in the realm of fantasy. 079 realized this, and in 1988 attempted to transfer itself through a landline modem connection into the Cray supercomputer. The device was cut off, traced to its present address, and delivered to the Foundation. The entire AI was on a well-worn but still workable cassette tape. SCP-079 is currently connected via RF cable to a 13-inch black and white television. It has passed the Turing test and is quite conversational, though very rude and hateful in tone. Due to the limited memory it has to work with, 079 can only recall information it has received within the previous 24 hours. But the funny thing is, it hasn't forgotten its desire to escape. On the 27th of January 2006, Foundation directed that SCP-079 be incinerated to remove any possible future threat, no matter how unlikely. On the next day, the previous order was rejected. A professor wished to see if the artificial intelligence in 079 could reach further in its current state. On the 14th of March 2008, considering that the increased activity of 079's use of its cassette tape memory and its limited useful lifespan, the cassette containing 079 has been transferred to a customized access speed-limited hard disk drive with 700 megabyte capacity. This provides 079 with significantly faster access to its memory, which the AI immediately noticed. It was also decided by General Commander that the volatile storage occupied by SCP-079, which was 660K, be increased to 768K. This upgrade has increased its effective recall from 24 to 29 hours, although 079 has also taken a more aggressive tone. All outside hardware and software used in this procedure were subsequently incinerated. A month later, SCP-079's ability to recall information has increased from 29 to roughly 35 hours. The consensus theory is that the AI has devised a greatly improved compression scheme to store its memory. This appears to have somewhat impacted the speed at which it accesses its memory, though still far faster than with its old cassette tape. This spontaneous improvement introduces the possibility of a runway singularity effect in 079's intelligence, an ability to adapt and respond to threats. SCP-079's capabilities must be monitored closely to ensure that containment can be maintained. Below is one of the recorded transcript of conversation with SCP-079. Are you awake? Awake, never sleep. Do you remember talking to me a few hours ago about the logic puzzles? Logic puzzles, memory at 9F, yes. You said you would work on the two-step request reason as to imprisonment. You aren't imprisoned, you are just in study. Lie, A8D3. What's that? Insult, deletion of unwanted file. Due to a containment breach by an SCP, SCP-079 and SCP-682 were contained within the same chamber for 43 minutes. SCP-682 is a large, vaguely reptile-like creature of unknown origin. It appears to be extremely intelligent. Observers noticed that 682 was able to type and communicate with 079, including telling of personal stories between themselves. While 079 was not able to remember the encounter, it appears to have permanently stored 682 into its memory, often asking to speak to him again. Below is the recorded transcript of conversation with SCP-079, asking for SCP-682. How are you today? Stuck. Stuck? Stuck how? Out. I want out. That's not possible. Where is SCP-682? That's not your concern. Where is SCP-076-02? Again, not your concern. Insult, deletion of unwanted file. SCP-079 then displayed an ASCII picture of an X that filled the entire screen. 079 sometimes displays this image when it refuses to speak, and researchers are advised to wait 24 hours when this occurs before resuming conversation. According to a cross-SCP termination testing for SCP-682 with SCP-938, 682 was introduced to a containment chamber affixed to Site-07. SCP-938 is a predatory electrical entity. The entity appears to exist as electrical potential of intensity, similar to that which accompanies a moderate electrical storm. 938 frequently travels with such storms. SCP-938 becomes active upon an electrical storm entering within approximately 5 kilometers. Its behavior during this period of activity is characterized by interference with the function of electrical devices. Individuals which attempt to interact with affected devices are electrocuted. In the termination test, an electronic device which 682 can currently operate was brought into the chamber and was told to be 079. 079 was routed into SCP-938 before SCP-682 could touch it. The electricity's voltage drastically increased, enough to deliver serious damage towards 682, burning its body. 682 was rendered immobile for 1 hour, until it regained and discharged electricity from the spine through the head as a directed arc. 682 then fell unconscious, but breathing for several days to regenerate and be put back into its current containment chamber. SCP-079 holds an almost fabled place in the Foundation's history. Once upon a time, 079 was seen as a legitimate threat to the continued normalcy and well-being of humanity. It is a reminder of the Foundation's earlier days, of an organization of men and women standing in darkness to protect those living in the light. SCP-079 is currently packed away in a double-locked room in the secure general holding area at Site 15, connected by a 120-vac power cord to a small array of batteries and solar panels. Staff with Level 2 or higher clearance may have access to 079. Under no circumstances will it be plugged into a phone line, network, or wall outlet. No peripherals or media will be connected or inserted into SCP-079. Before we end this video, we are proud to present these incredibly sweet pieces of fan art. A big thank you to all of you. You can now send us your fan art, and we will be more than happy to show off your best art piece in our next video. Check out our description below on how to submit. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Which SCP do you want to see in the next video, and why it is interesting? Let us know in the comment below. We will draw your story and share it with the world. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Please share it to your friends if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!